In this video, we're actually going to make a chatbot say things. So it's going to use everything we've been building on so far. So if you've been doing everything which we've been covering in strings, arrays, objects, arrays of objects, this one is the video where we actually see the payoff in the chatbot. And to get started, we're going to be using a template. And that template you can find on the course page. When you watch this video, it might look slightly different, but it's somewhere we'll have a chatbot template. And you should click on that and open it up. When you open it up, you'll see something like this, and it will have lots of stuff on. And actually, most of it we don't need to worry about. So you'll see there's quite a lot of code here, and we're actually not going to interact with most of it. And it's a bit like in your house, say when you're kind of redecorating a room, you might move around the furniture, you might repaint, but you're not actually touching the fundamental structure of the house. And some of this code is that fundamental structure which we're not going to be touching, but we are going to be changing things to make our chatbot say different things. Specifically, it will be this file here, chatbot.js. .js is the JavaScript file extension that tells us that we're writing JavaScript code. And this is what we'll be changing to make our chatbot say things. So now you are in chatbot.js, I want you to take a look at the file, compare what's in there to what the chatbot is saying, pause and see if you can change the code to make the chatbot say hello world. Remember, experimenting is a really important part of learning how to code. So now you've had a chance to play around with it, let's have a look. You don't have to worry about these first things. We see here there's an array, we recognize that. This is an object, we recognize that. There's an ID, key and value. There's a message key and value. And we see that lorem ipsum or something seems to correspond to the value of the message key. So let's change this to hello world, which is a common first thing you'd get any program to say when you learn to code. And great, it says hello world. So we can see it must be that this object here corresponds to this bubble here, and it's a message property which corresponds to that. You might play around with this and experiment with that. What if we change this to something like avocado? It doesn't seem to make a difference. And we'll learn more what this is used for later. But for now, what's important to know is, I suppose, if we get rid of the ID, what happens? Oh, it says the key ID is required. So you've got to have an ID. For now, it doesn't matter what it is. We'll cover that later. But now we can make our chatbot say things like hello world, or any greeting that we want. So to check your learning from that, I want you to try deleting the contents of that array in chatbot.js and try recreating the comments. Remember, object needs an ID key. Experiment, see how you do. So delete the contents of the array so you have an empty array like this. And then remember, what do we need to try and put in? Try and represent that message bubble we saw. Now you've paused and had a go. Let's have a look at that together. It's going to be an object where I'm going to say a message. I'm going to go for hello there, Richard. Oh, it's reminding me the key ID is required. I'm going to read the error, right? So reading errors is a really important part of working with code. So I'm going to add an ID of ABC. Let's just go for something simple. Doesn't matter what it is right now. Hello there, Richard. Fantastic. It's actually responding with things which I'm typing. So we can make our chatbot say whatever we want to say now. How cool is that? I'm just going to quickly walk through some mistakes which you might see here. But actually, before I do that, pause, see if you can look at the code, look at the error feedback, and see if you can work out what's wrong with each of these or what we can add to them to fix the error. So now that you've paused and you had to think about it, I'm going to go through it. So the first one, it's the same mistake we just saw. It says key ID is required. So you've got to make sure this here, we've got an array, it's got that message, it didn't have the ID. Make sure you include a message ID, include an ID property on the object. The value doesn't matter. Something like MSG01 is fine for now, which is short for message 1. The second one says unexpected token, expected kind of this comment here. Let's take a look at that one. So it looks like this. It's a syntax error, which means we're not kind of following the rules that we're meant to follow to create our arrays or objects or something like that. I've got my array, I've got my object, key, value. Ah, you see there, I'm missing a comma between my key and value. So To space it out, what you might want to do is something like this, where this is going to make it easy in future when we add things to our array. And at this point, you kind of might want to as well separate these out here. So it's easy for you to kind of keep track of all of these things. And then we can, again, like we looked at in formatting object arrays, if we have that mistake, it's easier for us to scan our eye down the end of each line and see, oh look there we're missing a comma. And because of that, our chatbot's now saying hello Richard again. Great. What about this final error here though? Let's have a look at that. So we can scan down, maybe we again want to reformat this so it's a bit easier for us to kind of make sure we've got all our commas in. And actually there we see, okay, I've opened my array, haven't ended it. So you need to remember this object still needs to be part of this array here. It's one of the things inside that array, so we need to make sure we're closing that array. So now, to embed your learning, you can change whatever greeting the chatbot's saying to the user. Just experiment, and you can see what you can make it say. In this video, we've been looking at making the chatbot give us our initial message. In the next video, we're going to look at making the chatbot say multiple things.